Welcome to another virtual edition of Customer Success Montreal Meetups. Today we're happy to have Elaine Cobb, VP of CS at Coveo, join us to share her recent experience defining the customer success career matrix at her company. Follow the Customer Success Montreal group on LinkedIn or visit our website at cs-mtl.com to stay informed on future events. So without further ado, we'll get right into the customer success strategies section of Elaine's presentation.
I'm sure you guys have noticed in your own businesses that in many cases, when the economy starts to become uncertain and we're in sort of this crisis mode, customers really aren't willing to commit to sort of these subscription businesses. And so your existing customers become even that much more important. And oftentimes they need even more help. And so again, sort of that shift in realizing that your growth opportunity has become your existing customer base. So you need to make sure they're being serviced appropriately. And I'm sure, many of you probably even saw in the initial phases of the lockdown, when it first sort of happened and we went into more of that real lockdown mode, for the first, few months, you may have actually seen more growth from your existing base than from your net new customers. Another piece that is talked about is just the fact that right now, customers, and you've probably seen yourselves, they're really starting to evaluate budgets. They're tightening budgets. There's a lot of pressure there. And so it's the companies that are providing a really great experience and are really helping customers achieve their business outcomes that are going to be able to preserve that revenue, right? It's not just about adoption. We have to make sure that we're really focused on adoption and delivering value. And then the third piece is it's a really great time to build advocacy. A lot of customers right now, they need, even more help than before. There's been sort of reduction in forces and limited resourcing. And it's the customers are really going to remember the companies, the sort of partners and vendors that best supported them through this whole pandemic. So it's a great time to build advocacy. And so again, it just really reinforces just how much customer success has been become critical to overall business strategy. So sort of moving from strategy into the customer success matrix and why it's really critical. We know that it's critical business strategy, right? We know the field is growing, but it's also a relatively new area. So many companies haven't yet developed a formal customer success matrix. As they maybe have done in sales or as they may have done historically in account management. And so, we know that people are going to be growing in their skills. We know that they're going to be, we're going to be hiring. We know that people are going to move on. But, to be really effective at managing those scenarios and being, sort of deliberate in how you're going to manage them, you really do need a customer success matrix to be able to do that. So, in my experience, in order to effectively scale for growth, you really do need this matrix in place. So just talking a little bit about what our journey was to developing our matrix and why it really became a priority for us was, I think I mentioned to you that Coveo has been growing and I was really part of that growth. And when I came into Coveo, I really went on a listening tour to sort of understand from every person on the team what their perspective was in terms of where the team was at. And then I also met with, all of the different leaders from the different departments and different team members to sort of get that other perspective of where customer success was at. And I really sort of bucketed the findings into kind of three key places, right? The people, the process, and the technology. And it was really interesting because what I could see and sort of hear from the team is that we had really diverse backgrounds, which was great. We had varied skill sets and lots of different experience levels. And we also had people who were super eager to learn and grow. So we had, I want to say, all of the components, I think, of a really great team. But because we didn't have the career matrix in place, we were still facing some sort of key challenges. So I would say the employee experience was a little bit challenging and it wasn't ideal because we had a lack of sort of clarity on really the roles and responsibilities. We were unable to sort of prioritize the critical tasks because we didn't have that clarity. I think in some cases we weren't fully delivering on the customer expectations of customer success, or even on what the company was expecting. We did have a couple of different roles on the team, but there wasn't clear differentiation between them. And I think people felt a sort of lack of recognition and didn't really know what their path was. And so what ends up happening is, you sort of pull all those together and you end up with really kind of mediocre performance and complacency to a certain extent. What we sort of felt that meant for us was that we really didn't have a human roadmap in place that would allow everyone on the team to thrive. And so you can sort of see here our people and our challenges, right? Our expectations of the roles weren't clear. There was a lack of sort of recognizing some really great skills on the team as well as skill gaps, and we didn't have a development plan in place at the time. And then hiring priorities were not established, right? We weren't able to hire ahead of the curve, and that means you're always sort of, again, in catch up and being a bit more reactive than we really want to be. So, as you guys know, obviously when there's big challenges, there's also really big opportunities. And so we really saw this as an opportunity to develop a high performance team. We really wanted to put sort of the key strengths of all of these different team members to work in order to be more efficient and to really allow them to follow the things that they excelled at and they were passionate about. We also really needed to design a structure that supported better results. And so that was both a combination of the org design itself as well as the career matrix, and they really kind of go hand in hand. And then we wanted to improve the employee experience. Ultimately, we know if we have a better employee experience, we're going to reduce rates of attrition, and we know that we're going to achieve better customer engagement as well. So here I just quoted a sort of a finding from a Glassdoor study, which I thought was really interesting. And it sort of says, without clear internal paths to success, employees are more likely to leave and companies end up with less engaged, less diverse, and less creative workforces. And certainly that's not what we want for any of our teams. I think what this really it reinforces, there is a huge cost to not doing this exercise. So it's really an important one that you really want to prioritize within your teams. So now sort of getting into why a customer success matrix is critical as you scale for growth. So certainly when it comes to skill development, there are really distinct skill sets and areas of expertise that you need to build within the team if you want to have a solid customer success foundation. The other piece is really clarity, right? Certainly employees need clarity on the roles and responsibilities, but it's also about sort of orienting them around what the expectations are and what they need to do to be effective in their role. The next one is career progression. And so it's obviously critical that your team understands what the criteria is and what's required for advancement, and that they can see the different roles and opportunities that exist within the team. And then finally, recruitment. Once you have your career metrics set out, it starts to become a lot clearer, like, oh, we need to hire in this area, or we need to hire in that area, because we can see where the gaps are. And I will say that I think oftentimes when it comes to recruitment, we think about it as, externally, right? You can post a job description. It's equally as important to make sure that you have the career matrix for internal employees so that they can understand, what are the paths within customer success that they might want to explore, and what are the roles, what sort of experience is needed to pursue that path. So the next is really sort of building our customer success matrix. And I will say that it was a team effort for sure. So, myself, along with 3 of my sort of direct reports, and we also had an HR business partner who we work closely with. And really the 5 of us got together to build the matrix. So it was definitely a team effort, and we all sort of pulled together on that. All right, so here, this is our matrix. So you can kind of see the job function, the responsibilities, and then the title and the skill levels on the right. And the benefits of this matrix is that it allows you to quickly determine how to best assign tasks in an efficient manner. It also provides employees with a mechanism to really understand their skills and allow them to sort of enhance their skills and their knowledge in certain areas for upskilling, promotions, and potentially transfer to other positions. And the point here is that we really want to encourage employees to pursue interesting roles and projects that are going to align with the company objectives, as well as their own personal interests. And so you can see here on the right, like we used an evaluation grid. That's really where you see skill level. And, you know, our objective here within Coveo was to use this to have really honest conversations with employees about where they're at and sort of what's next for them. So if you take a look, like it starts with learn it. And so this is really all about learning a new skill set and responsibilities. So, you know, you're relying on a dedicated manager or a team lead for support. And then as you move up to apply it, this is where you're starting to work more autonomously, but you may still have and require some support. Then you move into design it. And this is where, you know, you really are that strong independent contributor. Then the next stage is really mastering it. And so this is sort of master of your craft. You're also, in addition to your role in customer success, you're probably contributing cross-functionally. And then the final one is lead it, which is more of sort of thought leader, where you're having impact across the whole team, certainly within the company overall, and then, you know, potentially within the broader community. And I will say that, you know, employees also, you know, they certainly feel more engaged when they believe that their employer is vested in their development, right? So again, that's another reason why the matrix becomes really important. And so this digs into sort of the different components in a little bit more detail, but our approach to the matrix was to allow for growth as both an individual contributor as well as a leader. So we wanted to provide a roadmap that had sort of career progression, making it clear that taking on additional responsibilities, like that is the growth that we're looking for. So we wanted to ensure that team members felt, you know, passionate and felt like they could put their strengths to work. And so, you know, our intention here was really to pave the way to encourage our team members to become masters of their craft. And for everyone, that's going to be different, right? For some people, that's going to be management and leading. For others, it might be operations. And for others, it may be strategy, or maybe somebody wants to become really well-rounded and experience those different positions. So it was really about making sure we had growth paths for, you know, all of the different sort of functions. And that also becomes really important because if you're trying to create a high-performance team, it's super important that, you know, that the team is well-balanced and multidisciplined. And that's really what we also look to achieve with our matrix. So if you can sort of see here, the first section is really just, you know, the job description itself. We write out our job description, then we provide really the relevant experience that's needed. So, you know, is it, you know, entry level, 0 to 2 years, you know, 5 years, 10 plus, etc. Then we go into the expected contribution level, and that's where we really have sort of the learn it, apply it, design it. And within that, we really look at, okay, what are the strategic implications of how you're working with customers? You know, are your client interactions high, medium, low? What is your contribution to new customer success initiatives? So as you sort of become more, you move more to, let's say, that design it stage where you're much more experienced, that's where you're going to be contributing to overall team initiatives more. There's an expectation that as you master your craft, you're contributing more to the broader team. And then, of course, you know, we have clear responsibilities, right? So we have our sort of measurement by objectives. So our core KPIs in terms of how we're measuring our customer success team. You know, product specialization, that sort of gets into being clear about what sort of industry expertise may be required or very specific technical skills that you might need. Of course, you know, we highlight sort of some of the core components of the customer success skills in terms of, you know, onboarding, adoption, optimization. And then we sort of detail out, you know, involvement as potentially a mentor, how you're going to work cross departmentally. You know, for every position, we highlight that working within and embodying our Coveo values is extremely important. And then we also have really key values and principles that we're looking for within customer success. And so we've got that detailed out here as well. And then sort of when we think about the career path forward, I think what we've found is that with this new customer success matrix that we've developed, we really, we feel like we now have an opportunity for transparency. So every single team member is aware of the roles and expectations, and that also leads to better accountability. Certainly there's an opportunity for more engagement. So employees know what their responsibilities are, and they're certainly empowered to be able to do more on their own and know what's required to sort of increase their skills. And then the other piece, of course, is trust, right? The process is fair, it's objective, and they know they're being evaluated against the same criteria as everybody else. You know, here I included, you know, some quotes from Forbes and Harvard Business Review that I think we all intuitively know, which is happy employees take better care of customers. And so, you know, it's important for employees to have this matrix. It's also equally important because it impacts our customers directly in terms of that engagement. So certainly I would say don't delay. This is something that has a lot of impact and it's really important.